Hey everyone, today we're going to take a little bit of a step back from the new lessons and just really focus in on some practice for adding integers. Um, these are the two sheets that are kind of extra practice in your packet. The first one that we're going to look at is the integer operation sheet that looks like this. There's actually four of these, but we're only going to talk about the adding integer sheet right now. Um, but I just want to review the process of adding integers. I think you probably have a pretty good idea by now how it works, but just some straightforward guidelines that we would use to do so. For the notes sheet here, let's fill that in. And it's talking about the two different types of adding integer problems that we have. It's either adding with the same sign or adding with different signs. So we have with the same sign, you add the numbers and keep the signs. So that would be something like -2 plus -3. You add the numbers together, 2 and 3 makes 5, and keep the sign, meaning keep the negative sign. And of course, that would work if these were positive. If this was +2 plus +3, we'd still add them together and keep the positive sign and have a +5 as an answer. So that's the basics for that rule. If we have different signs, you're going to subtract the values and then use the sign of the larger value. All right, so what that means is if we were adding -2 to, let's say, 7, we have different signs. We have a negative number with a negative sign and a positive number with a positive sign. So we're going to actually subtract these two numbers from one another. We're going to take 2 from 5, I'm sorry, 2 from 7 to equal 5. And then we take the sign of the larger value. Which of these numbers is the bigger number? And that would be here. And really, we're talking the bigger absolute value would be a better way to say that. So 7 has a greater absolute value than -2. -2's absolute value is 2. So we take this sign, and that's why our answer would be positive. If this switched, and if we had 2 plus -7, so we switch the sign to the opposite value, we still get 5 when we subtract 2 from 7, but this number has a greater absolute value, meaning our answer is going to be negative, just like this larger valued number is. Okay, there's a few examples here that we could look at just as an example. Let's do one together. But these have 3 addends in them. And the good thing is with addition, the order doesn't matter in how we add them. So if I were to decide how to combine these, I could combine in any order, but I'm going to combine the two like numbers here. So 4 and 8 combines to make 12. So I'm really adding 12 to -2. And in this problem, I'm checking, do I have the same signs? Do I have different signs? Here I have different signs. I have a positive and a negative number. If they're different signs, I'm going to subtract and use the sign of the larger absolute value. So subtract 2 from 12. The larger absolute value is the number 12, the positive number. So that's going to be my answer. My answer is positive 10. All right, but if I were to look at an example like the one down here and combined the two negative quantities here, -7 and -3 makes -10, and it's 6 plus -10. Because I have different signs, I'm going to subtract again. 10 minus 6 is equal to 4. But my number with the greater absolute value is right here, -10. So my answer is going to be negative. Okay, you can also kind of think of this. Let's talk about it on the next problem here. So on the back of this sheet, there's some practice. It's using number lines and we're just kind of combining the arrows here to solve the puzzle. How is a mouse like grass in a meadow? So for the first one here, we're going to identify the integer that results when combining the two arrows. So two negative numbers. This kind of pictures what we were just talking about with the rules. We're getting further negative when we add two negatives, and our answer would be -7. For the other, we're getting positive, so we're combining the two positives, and that's going to get us to 16. And when they go in opposite directions, they start canceling each other out. You can really see this with the arrows. So for the next one, for letter A, on that number line, it went to -2, and then it went to 7. The problem here, the two add-ins would be -2 plus 7. And because they're of different signs, positive and negative, there's an overlap here. And really, this portion cancels out. So we cancel out this portion, which means we take away two of the positives. And what we're left with is our sum. And that's 5, +5 here. 5 would be our answer. Okay, please complete that practice, solve that puzzle, and then turn past lesson 4, which we did yesterday, to the adding integer practice. And again, you can see we have the rules for the same sign and different signs. Remember, that means either two positives, let me write that, positive plus a positive, put those in parentheses here, or it could be negative plus a negative. Those would be same sign examples. Different sign examples are having one positive plus one negative. All right, so let's do a couple of those real quick for 1 and 2. And this is just practice. It's getting comfortable with this so that you can very quickly look at these integer problems and come up with a solution. But for both of these that we're doing here, we have different signs. We have a positive and negative value. That means ultimately we're going to subtract these values. What I'm thinking is, what's 7 minus 3? Well, it's 4. And now I just decide which of these numbers is greater to apply the sign to it. Not greater, which of these numbers has a greater absolute value? This -7 has an absolute value of 7. 3 has an absolute value of 3. Greater absolute value, this sign is going to transfer to my answer. And if we looked on that number line, we're going to 3, and then we're adding from there -7. So that negative has more pull. It's going to pull our answer to the negative side of the number line. It's going to take -3 to remove this +3. That's where it cancels out here. And what's left is that -4. So hopefully that kind of helps you picture how we're doing the subtraction. For the next one, we've got, again, different signs. So we're subtracting these quantities. There's cancel out. There's part that's canceling out. This -10 is canceling out +10, and it's going to leave 2 remaining, 2 positive amounts. And on a number line, if we went to -10 and then added 12, we go back to 0 and 2 past it to our answer. So it's going to be +2 there. I hope that helps. I hope this kind of gives a simple outline of how we do adding integer problems. This probably sounds familiar from last year, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good day.